Good morning, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Listen, we need to talk about this Miss Linda Stermer. Initially, I was convinced that she was not guilty because of all the gorgeous hair. Now, is that gorgeous hair holding secrets? She got a bunch of secrets tucked up in there. But now, the more I learn about this case, I'm like, oh, she's garbage. We're gonna talk about it, but first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That helps other people find us. Also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Okay, so look, let me give you the quick and dirty overview. I have an entire Linda Stermer playlist so you can get all the parts, but in case this is your first video about this lady, let me tell you, she and her husband was having a real bad time. They were like, maybe we get divorced, maybe we don't get divorced, but she's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go get some gas, and she poisoned him lightly, like a light poisoning with she sedated him with some sleep medication or whatever, and then she poured gasoline on him, set him on fire, was like, I'm all done with that. That was easy. But then while he was on fire, he ran out of the house, and she's like, dang it, I did not expect that. And then she ran him over with the car, and then she was just like, he seems to still be like a little bit alive. Oh, look, help looks like it's coming. That's okay. So she laid her body on top of his body and then covered his mouth with her hands. And she's like, I was trying to do CPR, ma'am. That's not how CPR works. Anyway, so he died. And she was like, oh, oops. And so they went to trial, and she got convicted and sent to prison. And I know you're asking yourself, well, if she went to prison, why are we back here? Well, her defense attorney in the first trial was like, Your Honor, I might have done ineffective assistance of counsel. I really should have hired like a fire expert or whatever, and I didn't. So can she get a new trial? And the original court was like, nah, Heffernan did this. But then the Supreme Court was like, well, you really should have hired the state Supreme Court over there in Michigan was like, you really should have hired a fire science expert. So we're going to get Linda a new trial. Linda gets out. Look, she was locked up for 8 years, and then she gets out. She's been out for 8 years. Can you imagine being in prison for 8 years? Then you free for 8 whole years. Now she's back at trial number 2. The original crime happened 18 years ago, right? So you would think a whole lot of people would have forgotten. And I was like, I think Linda's gonna go free. At the beginning of this trial, I was convinced Miss Linda was gonna be free. Y'all, Linda going to jail. Linda belongs underneath the jail. She's a horrible, horrible human, even though she has gorgeous hair. And yes, that hair is holding secrets. And I don't think that hair should be punished for the evil things that she did, but punished, that hair is going to be. So look, what you need to understand is Linda got 5 kids, right? She has 2 daughters from her first marriage. And then she adopted a son. And then she has, 2 sons from her last marriage, right? So the way it breaks down is the girls are team mom and the boys are mama's a whole trash bag. So last week we saw her oldest son, Corey Pierce, take the stand. That's the adopted son. But child, if you adopted that child's your baby. It was her nephew or whatever. He came to live with them and everything was going good. And so Corey got on the stand and he was like, she sent us to the movie. She woke us up early in the morning, wouldn't let us kiss dad goodbye, gave us some money, told us, go to the movies, go have breakfast, go to the mall, have a good time, don't come back in no time soon. And so they were like, okay, we don't want to go to the movies, but fine. And so they go to the movies, right? The older son, Corey, takes his 2 little brothers to the movies. And then while they're in the movie, they get a call that's like, oh my goodness, your house is on fire. So they run home and they find out all this tragedy has happened. And Linda is crying and she's super duper sad and it's terrible. So we heard all from her first son, Corey Pierce. Then we heard from her yesterday on the stand. We heard from her youngest son, Trenton. The heartbreak. Now listen. What you need to know is, number 1, Trenton was only 12 at the time of the fire, but 12 is old enough to remember a whole lot of stuff, especially if it was something super duper tragic, right? And Trenton looks exactly like his daddy, like exactly like his daddy. I was like, wait, I thought Todd was no longer on this mortal coil. Why has this boy got his whole face? And so Trenton shows up and he was just like, Trenton was not happy to be there. He was salty. He was mad. The jury is not supposed to know about the first trial. Over and over. Look, Trenton had no time for the mess. Trenton was like, I don't care what they not supposed to know. Trenton was fresh out of cares. I keep jars of cares here in case I run out. I want to send Trenton some of my cares because he all out. He's all out. So I was like, don't you worry, Trenton. I got 2 jars. So I'm gonna send you some of mine. He was like, during her first trial and at her first trial, he could not have mentioned her first trial more. I was like, Trenton, my man, I'm here for the shade. I'm loving every single moment of it. So the prosecutor was asking him questions, and he was just like, I couldn't care less. But he was answering the questions like, yeah, she was a whole garbage bag. She sent us to the movies. I was young. I don't know what was happening, but I know that I have to kill my daddy. That's not what he said, but that's the spirit of what he said. And then they were like, well, did your mother talk poorly about your father? And Trenton was like, yeah. And the district attorney was like, well, what are some of the types of things she would say? Trenton opened his whole mouth. Oh, the way I loved this. He was like, she came down and she said to me, wouldn't it be better if he were dead? I was like, Trenton, you done throwed your mama all the way under the bus. Mom is over here crying her behind. She in the ugly cry. She's really, really in the ugly cry. The defense is like, objection, Your Honor. The judge was like, what's your objection? That was really, really kind of bad. But like, yeah, what was your objection? And the defense attorney was like, we never knew anything about that. The judge is like, okay, jury, can y'all go on to the jury room and take a break or something? We're going to have a little chitty chat about this. The defense attorney was fully melting down. This is a mistrial. He never said these things before. Still, Trenton sat there unbothered. I'm telling you right now, he could not find a care if he wanted to, not with a map in both hands and a flashlight. He was just like, now, did she actually say it, or did she say something like that? I don't know. I believe Trenton, though. Also, Trenton is extra strength salty. I was like, yes, Trenton, come through with the shade for your garbage mama, who unfortunately unalived your father that you clearly loved. And so the lawyers argue back and forth. Had you heard him say this before? Did you know he was going to say it? The state was like, he said lots of terrible things about his mother. I wasn't sure which thing exactly he was going to pick. She's clearly a horrible human being. And the defense attorney was like, Your Honor, this is a bell that cannot be unrung. And the judge was like, okay, defense attorney, calm down. Listen, I'm going to give a limiting instruction. And I was like, what possible limiting instruction could you give on the heels of that little tidbit? And so the jury came back in, and the judge was like, that last question and answer is going to be stricken. Just forget you heard that. And I was like, okay, we all just going to forget. Like those little, what is it? The Men in Black, the little flashy things like bleep. He didn't just say his mama was talking to the kids about unfortunately unaliving their daddy. Okay, sure. And then the jury had questions, right? Keep in mind, Trenton does not call his mother mom, mother, the heifer over there. He calls her Linda, but this is him. Linda said this and Linda did that. The way he said Linda had such contempt, I was here for it. And so the jury was like, and this is one of the cases where the jury can ask questions the way I love a jury question. So the jury was like, hey boy, hey, how you doing? Listen, this is not exactly what they said. This is the spirit of what they said. They were like, hey, when did you start calling your mother Linda? Trenton, again, not a care to spare, was like, I started calling her Linda when I found out she killed my father. Oh, okay. Thanks so much. I was like, oh, the shade. Okay. He didn't hide how he felt about the lady at all. Not even a little bit. And Trenton, I'm team you. I want to get like a Trenton Stermer t-shirt with the face that it looks like I don't give a care at all. So the boys were raised by Grandma Stermer. That is their father's mother after the father passed away, also after the mama went to prison. And I was like, okay. And when Trenton was done, he was just like, are you done? And then he sashayed out. I don't even think he sat in the gallery. He just went on about his day. He was like, I'm gonna wait for the heifer to be convicted and then we gonna go from there. And then Trevor Stermer got up. Now Trevor was 14 at the time of the fire. This is the middle, like of the boys, this is the middle boy. And he was more calm. He was more reserved. He was giving less contempt than his brother, but I was here for the very, very salty brother. I kind of loved it. So they were like, okay, Trevor, hey, how you doing? The state was like, how do you know Linda Stermer? Trevor was like, she was my mother. Oh, the past tense. She used to be my mother. I don't know that heifer now because she garbage. And so Trevor told the same story that all of us have heard before. The boys were woken up. They were not allowed to say goodbye to their father. They didn't really want to go out. The mother threw them out the house. Now, Trevor did throw shade at the mama in that this was a gas fire, right? Linda went and got gas and poured it all over her husband. And she said she had filled up the tank full of gas. And so the state said, did the car that you guys drove to the movie have a full tank of gas? And Trevor was like, if it did, it was unusual. We was broke. We never had a full tank of gas because my parents were terrible with money. Mostly my mother, not my father, because my father was a saint. Again, I'm not quoting. This is the spirit of what he said. And so Trevor got up and threw a lot of shade at his mama. Not as much as that brother, though. Oh, I love that salty little brother. And then the state was finally like, we rest. And I was like, okay, now if you ask me, there's more than enough evidence to convict this lady. In my opinion, she going to jail forever, ever. The rest of her life, that gorgeous hair. Although now I feel like that hair is full of evil. That's why it's all puffed out like that. It's just all crammed full of evil and secrets and lies. Anyway, so the defense got up and asked for a directed verdict. They were like, Your Honor, there's not enough evidence. They have not proven anything. And so Your Honor listened patiently, and then she went through her notes, and she's like, well, there is the fact that, and she listed 400,000 reasons why the jury could realistically convict this heifer, which in my opinion, they absolutely will. And so then she was like, okay, so no judgment of acquittal. What you got next? Defense, are you putting on a case? So the defense was like, we are calling a fire expert. He's the expertiest expert that ever experted. And so this is what you need to know about this fire expert. The previous trial was thrown out because the defense team did not call their own fire expert to talk about what happened in the course of this fire. So now, like, this is the moment. This is the chance for the defense to get up there and be like, we have our own fire expert. This is what our fire expert's gonna say. This different than the state fire expert. And I was like, they've had years to prepare for this. Who are they going to bring? I'm on the edge of my seat. So this little old man gets up there. He's been he has 50 years of experience. Oh, he used to be a fire this and a fire that. He's done everything related to fire. He knows about fire science. He knows every single thing. And I was like, okay, he's an expert. Great. Although some of the areas that he claims to be an expert in, he really might not be an expert in. And I was like, okay, he knows a lot about fire and a lot about arson, but he's not a forensic fire expert. Forensic is where, like, fire meets crime. And so if you have to testify in trials, that makes you a forensic expert. He's a fire expert, but he's not a forensic expert. Okay, they declared him an expert, and we're gonna see. So he got up there and he gave his experience or whatever. He was expert. He knew a lot about fires in Detroit in the 70s, which, okay, good for you. Mostly, he just wanted to tell us his fire war stories, which I, for one, was here for. Oh, the way I love a war story. Oh, and this man could tell. He's like, so listen, there was this one time we was on the back of the truck, right? And then the house went up in flames, and then 2 people went in, and then one guy came out, but the other guy didn't come out. And I was like, really? And then what happened? And the state was like, Your Honor, he's rambling. And I was like, I don't know if that's an official objection, but he is kind of rambling. And so the defense team was like, no. We're going to get him back on track. We're going to corral him. I promise. And so they asked him a few more questions, which he kind of stayed on topic. And then he started telling more war stories. He was like, I mean, people die from fires, but remember Jimmy back in 84, he died from a gunshot wound. And then Tommy, remember that time he got electrocuted? See, what had happened was the line fell down in a puddle of water. The state was like, Your Honor, objection, war stories. And I was like, it was a good war story, though. I want to hear the rest of that electrocution story. And the defense team was like, okay, we only have a couple of more minutes. Can you stay on track? Can you keep these trains on the track? And the expert was like, yes, of course I can. They asked him another question. He was like, okay. In 92 in Detroit, I was wearing my big boots, the yellow ones with the stripe. You see, that's after they had just come out with that safety stripe. Oh, the way I love the safety stripe. And then the court ended for the day. And I was like, oh, defense, were y'all free? I just asking for myself. Now, I am living for their fire expert. He gonna come back and expert some more tomorrow. Something tells me he's gonna have a lot more war stories. And will they counsel him and talk to him and be like, sir, we're gonna need you to just like hone in. He failed shut up class too. Now listen. As a shut-up school dropout, I entirely relate to this man. Oh, he's loquacious. He's a raconteur. He can tell a story. Oh, that boy can tell a story. Now, can he be a fire expert? Child, it is unclear. It doesn't really matter that much, in my opinion, because I believe this time Miss Linda is getting a very, very fair trial. And so when this jury convicts her and sends her to prison forever, they will have gotten it right. We'll find out soon. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you soon. Bye.